Hey guys, Troy and Andrew here. We're on the Chattahoochee Riverwalk Trail in Columbus, Georgia, and just having a great time. We want to share with you what we feel like were our top 3 trails from season 1. While we were out here on the trail, we were talking and we thought we would do something a little bit different for this video. And that is, we want to share with you what we feel like were our top 3 trails from season 1. As we've also talked about in other videos, sounds kind of weird that we have a season 2, but with this YouTube channel, it's just a good way to kind of keep it organized and everything. And again, thank you all so much for all your support. But we wanted to share with you our top 3 trails from last season. So, sweetheart, what was yours?
Coming in, number 3 for me is my hometown trail, the Palm Beach Lake Trail. It is a beautiful ride. It runs along the Intercoastal Waterway. We pass all those beautiful Palm Beach mansions. And then just across on the other side of the bridge, downtown West Palm Beach, where I spent many, many days and upon days of my life riding around on that big wide bike path down there along the Intercoastal Waterway. It's beautiful. That's my number 3. How about you, Troy?
Let's see. So for number 3, I would have to say it was probably the Longleaf Trace over in Mississippi, because that trail was just very unique in the fact that it had that little spur that went off to the lake. It was our second trail that we did to kind of get out of the state and do something. And for a logistics aspect, that's always a big challenge for me. And we've gotten better, and our system has changed, and that trail taught me a lot. But that was a lot of fun, that trail. And it's the first time you went over 30 miles, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's right, yeah.
So that was a great trail. So
yeah.
What was your number 2?
My number 2 is the St. Mark's Trail, the one that runs from down at St. Mark's up to Tallahassee. One of my favorite things about that, we stayed at the Shell Island Fish Camp. We left there. So anytime we're on the water, that's probably going to always be in my top favorites. And so we were on the water there to start, went on up to Tallahassee, came back, ended at the water again. It was a beautiful drive. It was in the spring. We had the perfect weather. Lots of places to stop and rest, and it's a really good trail. Really loved that one. That's my number 2.
Well, that's my favorite too. Number 2 for me would be the St. Mark's Trail. I think the reason that one was so much fun is from a photography standpoint, I just had a blast between the drone, between the different shots. It was just, as she said, it was a beautiful day. It was our first time, I think, with this camera that we're using, and so just overall, it was just so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, he mentioned the drone. I think of all of our videos, I think that's some of our best drone footage is in the St. Mark's Trail video.
That was a lot of fun.
That was really good.
Which, by the way, I got my Part 107 now, so I'm good to go.
Awesome.
In case FAA is listening to this. Then, my number 1. I think my number 1 trail from last season was the Chief Ladiga Trail. I want to go back to that trail. I want to finish that entire trail, and I want to do the Silver Comet Trail. I want to do the whole 100 miles, but that's the first trail where we did a lot of training besides our own Blackwater River State Trail, which is a great trail in itself. We love that trail. I ride it all the time. So really, that's one of our favorite trails too. But the Chief Ladiga Trail is just so beautiful. It's so different because it cuts through the woods, it cuts through those rock formations, the town of Piedmont, the accommodations that we had with the Night at the Inn Museum. Wow, that was just to me tops. And we're looking forward to going back there real soon, and as I said, ride that entire trail. What about you? What was your number 1?
Same thing. Number 1 for me is the Chief Ladiga Trail. And part of it, like he said, we trained so hard for that. It was my first long distance trail. I mean, we just started out, when Troy and I biked together years ago, it was just, you know, a few miles from our house over to Palm Beach and back. And I don't remember how many miles we used to ride back then, but he hadn't ridden bikes in 10 years. We started out just a few miles at a time, decided we're going to train, and I did not quite 30, 20-something miles.
Yeah, it was close.
I've never ridden that many miles in my life. And so that was very special to me. So it was my first long distance trail. It was beautiful. It was the fall. It was this time of year. I got to see fall leaves. I'm from South Florida. We dipped into into Georgia on the Silver Comet, saw even more leaves there. It was just magical for me to see those fall leaves. And the whole experience, like Troy said, the rocks where they cut through, trying to imagine a train going through there. I do that on all the trails now that are rail trails, but that was my first time to try to imagine that. It was just the night of the in-museum, finding that online, staying there, that Elevated Grounds coffee shop. We go to a lot of coffee shops all over the country and the world, and I got to tell you, Elevated Grounds in Piedmont, Alabama, strange as it is, it's my favorite coffee shop in America. And so just the whole thing, all of it together just made it very magical. The stay at that museum, Elevated Grounds, riding that trail, hitting that landmark for the first time, it was magical. I loved it. That's my number one for sure.
So there you go, Troy and Andrea's top 3 trails from last season. Now that doesn't take away from any of the other trails that we've done. They've all been a lot of fun. I mean, we've been in so many different trails now. With Lacoochee was great. So was the one in Gainesville, Hawthorne. That was a lot of fun.
Seeing the live gators, that was awesome.
Yeah, so there's a ton of trails that we've been to have been great. And we hope to keep doing more of these and keep going to more trails. And we really appreciate you coming along with us. And so hope that kind of gives you a little bit better idea of some of the good and great trails that we have around the country, at least around where we live. And so, hey, thanks once again for watching Troy and Andrea's Little Adventures.